You ever hear a story that sounds too wild to be true? Well, this one starts in a place where power and fear ruled more than love. It begins with a man everyone in the city feared. Vincenzo Romano, the most dangerous Mafia boss in New York. His name alone could freeze a man's blood. But behind all that power and money, Vincenzo was just a father, a desperate one. See, his only son Luca had fallen sick. Not the kind of sick you fix with money. Doctors called it a neurological collapse. His body worked fine, but his mind, it was fading away. He couldn't speak, couldn't walk, and his memory was slipping day by day. And no matter how much Vincenzo paid, and trust me, he paid millions and no one could help. He brought in specialists from Germany, surgeons from Japan, even some miracle doctors from Switzerland. 100 doctors, all said the same thing. "I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing we can do." Now imagine a man who could buy the world, watching his son slowly disappear. Helpless. That's where the story could have ended. But fate had other plans. Because one morning, inside that giant mansion with gold ceilings and marble floors, walked in a cleaning lady, a quiet black woman named Rosa Carter. She was new, hired just a week ago. Small-town woman, soft voice, always smiling. Nobody noticed her much. But what nobody knew was that Rosa had a daughter, Amara. And Amara wasn't just smart. She was a genius. A 23-year-old medical researcher who had been rejected by hospitals for being too young, too inexperienced, and, yes, for being black in a world that's still judged by skin before skill. Rosa had raised her daughter alone, scrubbing floors so Amara could study. But no one ever gave Amara a chance to prove herself. Until that day. It started when Rosa overheard two doctors arguing in Vincenzo's hallway. They were whispering about Luca's brain, about something called neural inversion, a rare condition no one had ever reversed. Rosa didn't understand most of it. But she knew one thing. Amara had written her college thesis on that exact disorder. So that night Rosa went home, her hands still raw from bleach, and she told her daughter everything. Amara listened quietly. And then she said one line that changed everything. "Mom, I think I can help him." Rosa almost dropped her cup. "Baby, don't say that. This man, he's dangerous. If something goes wrong." Amara cut her off. "Mom, I've studied this for years. If the brain's signal pathway is inverted, it's not death. It's silence. I can reprogram it." The next day, Rosa stood trembling outside the boss's office. She shouldn't have even been there when she was just a maid. But a mother's heart doesn't think twice. When her child believes in something good, she knocked once, twice. Then the door opened. And there he was, Vincenzo Romano himself. Gray suit, sharp eyes, power dripping off him like a storm cloud. "What do you want, Rosa?" he asked. She swallowed her fear and said, "Sir, my daughter, she might know how to help your boy." For a second, silence. Then laughter, cold, cruel laughter. The room full of men in suits stared at her like she'd gone insane. "You?" Vincenzo said, smirking. "Your daughter? What is she, some kind of miracle worker?" Rosa didn't back down. "She studied medicine, sir. I thought you should know." Vincenzo's face hardened. He turned away, muttering something about hope being poison. But then his son, Luca, made a sound. A weak one, barely a whisper. But enough. Everyone froze. For the first time in weeks, Luca's eyes opened, and he looked straight at Rosa. Not the nurses, not his father, Rosa. And that moment changed everything. Vincenzo turned back, staring at her, his expression unreadable. "Bring her," he said finally. "Bring your daughter." And that was the moment Amara's life was about to collide with power, fear and fate itself, because she wasn't just walking into a rich man's house. She was walking into a lion's den, to heal the one thing money couldn't buy. Hope. If you're still listening, you're not ready for what happens next. Because when Amara steps inside that mansion, she's about to discover a secret that could destroy everything she's ever believed in. You ever notice how life throws you into rooms you never thought you'd enter? That's exactly what happened to Amara Carter. She wasn't supposed to be here, not in this mansion of power. Guarded by men with guns and eyes colder than steel. She was just a girl from the South Side, wearing second-hand sneakers and carrying a second-hand laptop, but with a brain sharper than any knife in that house. When she stepped through those golden doors, Even the air felt heavy, like it was testing if she was strong enough to breathe it. And there he was, Vincenzo Romano, the man who could end lives with a look. He sat behind his desk, staring at her like she was some puzzle he didn't believe in. "So," he said finally, voice low and dangerous, "you're the genius my maid keeps talking about." Amara nodded. Her hands shook a little, but her voice didn't. "Yes, sir. I've studied cases like your son's before. I think I can help him." The room went quiet. One of the guards laughed under his breath like she'd just told a joke, but Vincenzo didn't move. He just watched her, eyes dark, sharp, unreadable. After a long pause, he leaned forward. "You have one chance. If you fail, I'll make sure you never touch another brain again." Most people would have run, but Amara didn't. She simply said, "Then I won't fail." They took her upstairs, past chandeliers that looked like frozen stars, to Luca's room. He was lying there, pale, silent, surrounded by machines that beeped like they were whispering goodbye. Amara stood by the bed, studying the charts. Her mind started spinning, lines, signals, neurons firing wrong. She saw patterns others missed, connections no one noticed. Then softly, she said, "He's not dying. His brain is just trapped, like a radio tuned to the wrong frequency." Rosa watched her daughter with tears in her eyes. For once, her little girl wasn't the maid's kid. She was the hero in the room. Amara opened her bag, pulled out her laptop, and connected it to a neural interface machine the doctors had left. Within minutes, she was coding, reprogramming the digital signal patterns around Luca's neural implant. The guards didn't understand what she was doing, but they could feel something was happening. The air changed. Suddenly, the screen flickered. Luca's fingers twitched. Then his eyes moved, slowly, uncertainly. "Mom," Rosa whispered, gripping Amara's arm. And then, faint, broken, came a voice no one expected. "Mother?" Everyone froze. The Mafia boss, the man who'd built his empire on blood and fear, stood up so fast his chair crashed behind him. "Luca," he whispered. The boy blinked. And then he smiled. Vincenzo's face crumbled. The man who'd never shown weakness dropped to his knees beside the bed, his hands shaking. For the first time in years, he cried. He looked at Amara, really looked at her, not as a cleaning lady's daughter, not as a stranger, but as the person who gave him back his world. "How did you do it?" he asked quietly. Amara exhaled. "I didn't heal him. I just listened to what everyone else ignored." But even as the room filled with relief, Amara noticed something strange. Luca's monitor was still flickering, irregular. His brainwaves weren't stable. Something was off. She frowned, checking the data again. The signal spike wasn't just random. It was triggered, manually. Amara froze. Someone had caused Luca's condition. It wasn't nature. It was sabotage. She turned toward Vincenzo, her voice low. "Sir, someone did this to your son." The room went still. Vincenzo's eyes narrowed. "What did you just say?" Amara showed him the screen. "There's a pattern in the neural readings. Artificial interference. Someone's been feeding false data into his brain's implant." Vincenzo's jaw tightened. He looked toward the door, toward the doctors who had been helping his son for months, and his voice dropped into that cold, dangerous whisper only Mafia bosses have. "Bring them to me." Within minutes, 2 men in lab coats were dragged back into the room. They started trembling the moment they saw Luca awake. Vincenzo stepped forward, slow, calm, terrifying. "You tried to kill my son." The older doctor stammered, "No, sir. We were just paid to—" "Paid by who?" But the man didn't answer. Vincenzo looked at Amara. "Leave the room," he said. But Amara didn't move. She looked at Luca, then back at the boss. "If you hurt them, you'll never know the truth. Let me find it. The real person behind this." For a moment, he said nothing. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "You've got 24 hours. And just like that, a cleaning lady's daughter, a girl who was never supposed to be in this house, became the only person the most feared man in New York trusted. That night, Amara didn't sleep. She stayed by Luca's bedside, analyzing data, tracing the code inside his implant. And when she finally cracked it, what she saw made her blood run cold. There was a digital signature hidden inside the neural code, an encrypted mark. And it didn't belong to any doctor. It belonged to someone inside the house, someone with access, someone Vincenzo trusted. Amara closed her laptop and whispered, "Oh my God." It's not over. You ever feel that moment when everything finally makes sense and then everything breaks at once? That's where Amara was now. It was 3 a.m. in the Romano mansion. The halls were silent, heavy with secrets. Luca was asleep, his heartbeat soft and steady for the first time in months. But Amara's heart? It was racing. She had found something no one was supposed to see, a digital trail, an encrypted signature buried deep in Luca's brain implant, and it belonged to someone inside this house. She plugged her drive back in, tracing the origin. The code kept bouncing through servers, hidden pathways, until it stopped. At one name, Vincenzo Romano. Amara froze. No, that can't be right," she whispered. She checked again. The encryption was clear. The implant modification had been authorized under Vincenzo's own ID. But that didn't make sense. Why would a father destroy his own son? Unless he didn't know. She remembered how Vincenzo looked at Luca, not like a mafia boss, but like a broken father. That love was real, which meant someone had used his authority, forged it to get access. Someone close enough to know his passwords. Someone inside the family. Amara's stomach dropped. There was only one person who fit that description. Carlo Romano, Vincenzo's younger brother. The family's loyal second in command. The man always standing behind his brother in meetings, always smiling. But Amara had seen that smile. Too smooth, too sharp. By sunrise, the mansion was awake. Guards moved like shadows through the hallways. Rosa brought her daughter a cup of coffee, her eyes worried. "Baby, you look like you haven't slept." Amara sighed. "I can't. Not until I tell him." "Tell who?" Rosa whispered. "Vincenzo. I know who did it." Her mother's face went pale. "Then be careful. Truth doesn't always set people free. Sometimes it sets them on fire." But Amara had made up her mind. She found Vincenzo in his office, staring out the window, his son's laughter faintly echoing from upstairs. For the first time, the house didn't sound like a tomb. When he turned, there was something softer in his eyes. "You did it, Amara. My boy's alive because of you. You'll never have to worry about money again. You have my protection." Amara shook her head. "Sir, there's something you need to know." The moment she said it, his expression changed, like he knew peace wasn't meant to last. She plugged in her laptop, opened the data, and showed him. "Your son's condition wasn't an accident. Someone programmed his implant to fail, from the inside." Vincenzo's face hardened. "Who?" Amara hesitated, then whispered, "Your brother Carlo." The silence that followed was heavier than gunfire. For a long time, Vincenzo didn't move. His jaw clenched, his eyes darkened, his hand trembling just slightly. "Are you sure?" Amara nodded. "I traced the neural signature through 6 firewalls. It's his." Vincenzo turned away, breathing hard. His voice was low, almost trembling, with rage, with heartbreak. "He wanted my empire. He couldn't wait for me to die. So he tried to take my son." Amara stepped forward. "Sir, please, don't make this about revenge. Luca's alive. Don't destroy what's left of your family." But it was too late. A single tear slid down Vincenzo's cheek, and that was all the mercy he had left. An hour later, the mansion erupted in chaos. Gunshots echoed through the halls. Guards shouted. Rosa grabbed Amara's arm, pulling her behind a marble column. "Mom, I have to stop him!" "No, you did what you came to do. You saved that boy." But Amara wasn't the type to walk away. She ran toward the sound. She found Vincenzo in the grand hall, standing over his brother. Carlo was on his knees, bleeding, terrified. "You tried to kill my blood," Vincenzo growled. Carlo shook his head, crying. "It wasn't supposed to kill him. Just disable him, so I could take over until he recovered." But Vincenzo didn't move. His hand tightened around the gun. "Sir!" Amara shouted. "Stop! This won't heal anything!" He looked at her, and for a moment she saw the father again. The man who'd wept beside his son's bed, but then his eyes went cold. In my world, healing comes at a price. The gun fired. Silence. Amara covered her mouth, trembling. Rosa screamed. And Vincenzo just stood there, like a ghost wearing a man's body. Days passed. Luca recovered faster than anyone expected. But the mansion felt emptier, quieter. Vincenzo kept his promise, though. He paid for Amara's research, funded her lab, and gave Rosa the life she'd never had. Before Amara left for good, Vincenzo met her at the gates. He looked older now, tired. "You gave me back my son," he said. "But you also showed me what I'd lost, my soul." Amara nodded softly. "You don't need me to heal him anymore, sir. You just need to love him." He smiled faintly. "You remind me of someone I used to be." And with that, she turned and walked away. The cleaning lady's daughter, who walked into a Mafia, house and left as the only person, who ever healed more than a body. She healed a heart. If this story touched you, don't just scroll away. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us. Sometimes the biggest power isn't money, it's kindness and courage.